To hear most Utah fans and even many in the media talk, Utah is just going to come in the Big 12 and mop the floor. They're going to stomp mud holes in everybody in the Big 12 and walk them dry. Well, I'm here to tell you, not so fast, my friend. Do not count out the rest of the teams in the Big 12, and I have some data to back that up. And we're going to talk about it right after this word from my sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up? Come on in. Welcome to Couz's Corner. Come in, make yourself comfortable, belly yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out another shot of top shelf college football content. On tap today, we're talking, yes, again, my second video in a row about Utah. I actually had this video planned before I decided to do the previous video, which I'll link to at the end, about Utah and the speculation that they may go to the ACC. I think that's crazy talk, and I explained why in my previous video. Again, I'll link to it at the end. But this video, we're talking about why Utah should not just be expected to come in and just dominate the Big 12 from day one, and all these other teams need to just sit back and treat them like they're the tribal chief. Because there are other teams in this conference who I think have a chance to be just as good as Utah, if not better. First of all, let's talk about the media and what they're saying. I'm going to give one example here of what some of the members of the media are saying about Utah, and I'm going to do a screen share here. And this is from one of Joel Klatt's episodes that he did on his show about 3 weeks ago, where he gave his post-spring top 25, and here is what he had to say about Utah.
Number 6, Utah. Death, taxes, Utah football. Folks, Utah is the most overlooked program in America. That's fine by Kyle Whittingham. He doesn't care. He does not care if anyone talks about him. He doesn't care if anyone talks about his program. They are just tough, hard-nosed, good football players. They had a horrendous year of injuries last year. Horrendous. They couldn't keep anybody healthy. And now here we go, Cam Rising back. Literally his 82nd year in college football. Obviously, that's an exaggeration. But you have to look at the history of Cam Rising at Utah. The last 2 years that he was the quarterback at the University of Utah, what did they do? They won the Pac-12 and went to the Rose Bowl. That's what his standard is. Utah is going to be an elite football team. This team is the class of the Big 12. They got killed by injuries, including Brant Keithy, the wide receiver group. They had guys playing out of position. Kyle Whittingham is going to be back. They'll be healthier. Rising will be at quarterback, and their schedule sets up for success. Their hardest games at Oklahoma State. They've got home against Arizona in a back-to-back. That's, I think, late September in that one. And then they've got to go to Colorado and to UCF. Utah should win the Big 12, and they'll be in the playoff, and they'll have a top 4 seed in the playoff. So, wrap your heads around that. Utah, most likely, at the end of the year, is going to have a bye and a top 4 seed in the college football playoff. They're the best team in the Big 12. Cam Rising back, Kyle Whittingham. I don't know how much longer Kyle Whittingham is going to go, but immediately now that they're in the Big 12, the toughest place to play in the Big 12, Salt Lake City. All due respect to Stillwater, because Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, I love you. You guys have been fantastic for a long time. Utah is immediately the toughest place to play in the Big 12. Utah is number 6. Number 5.
Toughest place to play in the Big 12 automatically. They're going to – he basically expects them to come in and win the Big 12. He didn't use the word easily, but he kind of alluded to it because of Whittingham and all the people they have come back. And look, I don't doubt Utah is a great football team. They are. Kyle Whittingham, in my opinion, is the best coach in the Big 12 from day one. No disrespect to other coaches. But there are some really good football programs in the Big 12, and I'm sick and tired of the noise. And I'm not even speaking for my own team, West Virginia. They haven't done anything the past 4 or 5 years to prove that they're going to be the class of the conference. Now, I think they have a chance to be at least one of those teams because I think Neil Brown has them going in the right direction. But I'm here speaking for the conference as a whole, okay? Now, before I get into showing you some data that I've compiled comparing Utah to other teams in the Big 12, let's take a look at a little Twitter debate I got into with someone named DP. Now, I have respect for DP. She's probably watching this show. He watches a lot of my work. We had a respectful, friendly debate about Utah. And first off, let me show you what he had to say. In this tweet, he says, "My honest assessment of the situation is I think every intellectually honest person knows that Utah was deserving of the P2 based on performance. They are overqualified for the Big 12 in its current form. So the slightest news gets people excited about Utah fasting as well." Now, he was responding to a tweet about the Utah going to the ACC rumors, okay? But when he said overqualified for the Big 12 in its current form, I almost went through the roof. And here was my response. Overqualified, I respect you and appreciate all your support of my work, but this is crazy talk. Let's see how they do for a few years before we crown them the saviors of the Big 12. They haven't played a conference game yet. They were literally a Mountain West Conference team about a decade ago. And he goes on to say he didn't mean to respect WVU. He thinks it's her, which I wasn't even referring to WVU. But then I said it wasn't disrespectful to WVU at all. It was disrespectful to the Big 12. Kansas State, Baylor, TCU have won conference titles recently with Texas and OU in the league. TCU played in a national title game. And Baylor and Oklahoma State have won New Year's Six games in the past 5 years. And Cincy also made the CFP. He goes on to talk about the CFP record and all this. And I said, basically, I don't disagree with that. But the post was about Utah dominating the Big 12. And we got way off topic there. So here is my data to show why I think there are other teams in the Big 12 who may just have something to say about Utah coming in and dominating, because I just don't see it happening, folks. Could they do it? Yes. But there are several teams, I think, who have a chance to have a say in that, even outside of my team, West Virginia, who is on the rise. But let's just take a look at the last decade and what these teams in the Big 12 have done, okay, compared to Utah. I've got overall record, win percentage, conference titles, bowl record, college football playoff appearances, CFP wins, and postseason AP poll appearances. Now, highlighted in blue are the areas where Utah outpaced the other schools. But when you look at win percentage, yes, Utah's at 69%, but right behind them at 68% is none other than Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys. Only 2 wins difference. Now, I took out the COVID year. So it's basically 9 seasons worth of data here, because the 2020 season, teams played different amounts of games. It was it was a cluster, so I didn't want to include it. Didn't think it was fair, because the Pac-12 only played, 5 games that year, whereas the Big 12 played 10. So it just wasn't a fair comparison. But anyway, the win percentage for Utah, 69, but right behind them is Oklahoma State at 68. Then you've got several other teams in the 60s. Kansas State's at 62%. TCU's at 64. Cincinnati's at 61. And UCF's at 63. Now, I do have asterisks besides Cincinnati and UCF because they were playing in a group of 5 league at the time. So you have to take that into account, because that could skew the numbers. Now, Baylor's win percentage is lower at 58, but Baylor has a conference title under their belt in the last decade. They have a bowl record of 4-3, which, oh, by the way, is better than Utah's bowl record of 4-5. Now, Utah's played in 2 more bowl games, obviously. So maybe that's not fair. Neither has a CFP appearance. Neither has a CFP win, obviously. And Baylor does have 4 postseason appearances in the AP poll compared to Utah's 6. And Utah, again, they do lead in that category with 6, but right behind them, again, Guess what? Oklahoma State with 5 postseason appearances in the AP poll. So, has Utah outpaced these Big 12 teams over the past decade in most categories? Yes, but not by a large margin, folks. And again, look at Oklahoma State's bowl record, 6-3 in the same amount of postseason bowl appearances. They're 6-3 compared to Utah's 4-5. Oklahoma State's outperformed them. TCU's 5-2 in bowl games. So they're doing well in bowl season. Look at conference titles. Yes, they have 2 in the Pac-12, which you could say was a peer conference of the Big 12. Some might even argue the Big 12 was tougher because of having Oklahoma and Texas in the league. But Kansas State won a conference title. TCU and Baylor both shared a conference title back in 2014. Now, Cincinnati won 2 conference titles in the American, and UCF won 3 conference titles in the American during that time. And, hey, UCF fans are probably going to come on here and even claim a national title in 2017 that Utah doesn't have. I don't agree with that, but let them speak their piece. UCF fans, if you want to claim your national title, that's your prerogative. But let me know in the comments section whether you're a fan of Utah, whether you're a fan of one of these other teams, or even another Big 12 team I didn't mention. What makes you think your team has a shot to be the flag bearer for the Big 12 going forward? I think Utah does have a chance to be the best team in the league for the next few years. But I also think Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and some of these other teams could make the argument too. And if you look at UCF's recruiting lately, they might even make the argument that they could run the conference or be the flag bearer. My opinion, I think there's going to be a lot of parity, and I think you're going to see all these teams be in the conversation to win conference titles over the course of the next few years, including West Virginia, including maybe even Texas Tech, because they've been recruiting really well. Throw some other teams in the mix if you want to. There's not many teams in this conference that won't have a shot to win it over the next decade. That's what's going to make it so much fun. So for you Utah fans who think you're just going to come in and dominate, I want you to take a look at how close Oklahoma State, Kansas State, some of these other teams are to Utah playing in peer conferences over the last decade. It's not going to be that simple. Not going to be that simple. But I want to hear your thoughts. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and like the video. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, shout out to my VIP channel members of this episode. They are Houston Cougars, Germany, Andrew Smith, Timothy Hetrick Jr., and Denny Allen. Thank you all for being paid VIP members. If you want to join that club, hit the join button below. If you don't see a join button, go to my channel homepage. Hit the join button beside my profile photo. Take advantage of the perks I have to offer. There are 2 levels, a $2.99 a month level and a $4.99 a month level. You can read what perks come with each level. I've also added in members-only videos. Also, don't forget, I have a website, couzescorner.com. If you're interested in checking out content about WVU sports, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, go check out the articles over there by myself and some other writers, couzescorner.com. Please go over there today, and you can also sign up for our email list by going to the bottom of the page and checking the box and putting in your info. If you want to check out the video I did yesterday, if you haven't seen it yet about Utah and the rumor that they may go to the ACC and why I think that's crazy talk, check it out right here. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Have a top shelf day, and cue Country Roads.